Okay, cool.
50 years ago. And 50 years ago, I was, I didn't have a cell phone that distracted me.
So the students are distracted.
Right. I learned differently. You read a book, and you highlighted the book, and you checked the
So they have screens.
outlined your chapters. And now it's like all electronic. It's digital. It's Quizlet.
Quizlet just gives you the answers on the other side. Give me his Quizlet. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kinda. Right?
So
Crutches are phenomenal, but you need to stop using them at some point.
is it only experience?
How's their anxiety level? How's their ability?
And the anxiety level is off the roof. And you have to think about when they just started to do accelerated programs, and all LKN programs are now accelerated. Accelerated programs were designed in the 80s and 90s for people who were not academically challenged.
Right. So what's really interesting about what we're having a conversation here, we had not talked about AI yet, right? And we're identifying that screens and digital and Quizlet and not being able to highlight in your books and not getting your hands dirty, that's not working. And so the thought can be then applied directly to AI, right? Like, well, AI is going to make it even worse. It's too easy. You could just ask for the questions, the answers to the test. What we're not going to talk about today is using ChatGPT to help you out with your answers in nursing, okay? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about realism and simulation that's asynchronous. So that student who is anxious can really try to be the professional and make mistakes.
So you think about diploma programs, I think if they talked about Foley's on Tuesday, everybody read Foley and on Wednesday. And now they can go their entire student's career with not putting in an IB or a Foley or doing all the things with TUSA.
I love that you just talked about a practical clinical skill, because I tell this all the time to people. Here, could you pull on that? So I hear, do you have something to say? No, you're good. Okay, you're just eyeballing me. Let me know. Let me know if you got something you want to contribute. All right. So I tell people all the time, because I do a lot of virtual reality stuff, and people are like, well, does it do CPR? Like, can you do like catheterization, or like if they're birthing in VR? And I was like, man, let me tell you something. If you come to my house, because I have a code and I call 911 somehow, and I'm on the ground, and you come to my house and you do CPR, you say you're going to do CPR to me, and you've only ever done CPR like this, or I'm giving birth, and you've only ever done practice births like this, or I have a UTI or pyelonephritis, and you've only ever catheterized something like this, don't touch me. Right? I don't want the nurse who breaks ribs. I'm dead. Break them. Let's go. Give me back. Right? I don't want this to hurt. I hope you touch skin before. Okay, so there's certain things that we shouldn't be doing in VR. I push back all the time at all these VR companies that are trying to do everything. And it's like, pick a way and do it really well. But y'all have an infrastructure. Y'all have all of these manikins and task trainers and little simulation rooms that mimic a hospital with oxygen tubing on the wall, and suction on the wall, and the students have to practice pushing on bellies. They have to practice finagling wires and tubes and stuff, because when they get into the ICU, it's going to be like, uh-oh, that person's dying, and I don't know how to walk around this and untangle it. Which pump goes to that IV line? And so, what can we teach on asynchronously in a realistic way so we can try to produce more nurses when we know that the seats are full? How can we help those anxious digital first generation nursing students that this is what we're stuck with? This is who's coming to the hospitals. How do we help them come into class ready to rock? So when they hit the professional world, they're ready to rock. They have to fail in a safe environment and fail often and practice. And then come to you in the class and go, I almost killed that person like 4 times. And you go, good. That person wasn't real. Let's talk about what you did, and you get to try it. Man, I want that student to come into class with like 15 more questions that aren't surface level anymore. Like, stop asking me about how to drop a syringe. We'll go over that. But I want to know why you're drawing the syringe in the first place. And what led you, what was your index of suspicion that that was the medication you wanted to give that patient? And did you ask open-ended questions, or are you just looking at the condylar artery, following the zebra, and you totally left out the, the pain on the left side? Did you raise the leg? Did you ask? How long have they been doing it? Like, there's so much in healthcare that a student needs to communicate in order to achieve competency before they even pick up the needle. And all the needles are different at the hospitals anyways. All the pumps are different at the hospitals anyways. I think hospitals would have a much better time. That DNR rate would not be as high. And all those new hires had to learn was how to use the retractable IV instead of the ones that don't retract. It's a big deal. Oh, I have this pump, the blue pump instead of the gray pump. Okay, let's have 1 hour training day and you're going to figure this pump out. Why are you using the pump? That's what we can do with AI. That's what we can do with remote simulation. And it shouldn't replace everything that you've got. It should make them more ready for when they come in so you can get more work done, because you're limited. You got a $150,000 mannequin there that hopefully you have a Syntech, and if you don't, then hopefully there's someone there who knows how to operate the darn thing and that it's operational, working, filled with fluids, and ready to go. You don't plug it in and it's suddenly updating. Right? It's got to squish out a little baby mannequin, so I hope this thing's working. We're limited on time. I need all these students to go through this day. I got 30 students. We can do 4 at a time. 2 we're going to get hands-on. I don't want all of them necessarily watching, because we're going to run the same sim all day, because I don't have time to set it up 14 different ways. Well, we want those students to have been communicating with a pregnant female about the history, about the diagnosis, about the addictive suspicion, and empathetic care. So when they come in, you can practice those physical skills, and you can all sit down and debrief and discuss. So what was it like this last week when you guys were talking to that digital version of that patient? What was it like? What questions do you have? Oh, I want that for you so bad. Because the bottleneck is you. God gave me chills, because I used to be an educator too. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But we are not going to solve this nursing crisis with AI glasses in the hospital or with AI integrated into Epic, so that way the charting happens faster. Like, one of the leading causes of death in the United States is medical errors. That's not because of charting necessarily. Like, sometimes it is. It's a mischart, but it's standing there with a human being making a medical error. Having a medicine in your hand and making a medical error. There are numerous barriers to access. So let's talk about what AI and, I should probably pause here in a minute and ask you all a question. I'm going to ask you all a question, so think about this for a second. What is your level of understanding and knowledge of AI? Have you used it? Have you not used it, okay? All right, so this is from, it's called Third Way. It's this great study. If you look up Third Way education deserts, you'll get this awesome research paper that's free to download and stuff. And so what you're looking at here are the education deserts. And so the darkest areas are real bad, and the light areas, there's lots of access. And so what the darkest areas mean that there are more than 50,000 people, more than 50,000 potential learners, adult or not, who have 1 or fewer colleges within, I think it's a 2-hour drive. So all of the dark areas, there are more than 50,000 people with 1 or no option. Whew. So we can see where all the schools are. West Coast is covered, East Coast is doing great. There's a lot of sick people here and a lot of hospitals here. I think Ohio's doing pretty good. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Ohio's a good medical state, guys. They don't call it the Cincinnati stroke scale for nothing. So easy, by the way, the NIH stroke scale drives me crazy. Okay, time is brain. Let me figure this out and send them up. All right, we're going to talk about new graduates, they're not practice ready. And there's all these accrediting bodies like NACSL and NCBSN, and everyone's having what's the definition of practice ready? What's the definition of competency? And I'll tell you what, man, like, define however you want. Are they making people better? Are they making people worse? Are they working or are they a DNR? Were they there for 3 years and are they making positive outcomes? Competency. Let's go. Okay, so, oh, this is freaky. Before we catch on this one, who here has zero experience with AI? This is, okay, we got one. It's okay to raise your hand. Who here, let's start with it. Who here is afraid of AI? I'm gonna argue if you're not a little concerned about it, you probably got your head under a rock. I know a lot about it, and I'm a little concerned. Who here uses AI every day? ChatGPT, some sort of Gemini, you're using the AI Google search. It's hard not to, right? It's becoming like electricity. Now, who here pays for an AI service like GPT Plus? Rock, congratulations. I would recommend that everyone do that. It's $40 a month at a minimum. Try it for $20 and then cancel in a month if you want to. When you pay for GPT Plus, you get 5 deep research queries. It's amazing. It's PhD level research on top that you want answers to with sources. And so you ask it a research question that you want. So I did one recently, which was something to the effect of like, what are the success rates of nurses across the United States and the failure rates of nursing students across the United States, given current traditional simulation in 2025? And I just asked the question, and then it asks me back about 10, maybe 5 to 10 clarifying questions. I answer those, hit enter, and it goes, okay, come back to me in a few minutes. I'm going to do this research. And then it shows you all the research, and it's searching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sites and sources for you. And then it writes you a research paper, and then it gives you all the sources. Now, some of those websites can be done or not found. Most of them aren't anymore. That's going fewer. I would not publish that. I would use that. I would take that information and start going, all right, let me look through this. What numbers apply to me? Now I'm going to check those sources. Thank you for finding that for me because I Googled it anyways. And then put it to work. That's how you basically start measuring and finding out what's really going on. And you can do it by the state level as well. So it's worth a try. Okay, so 50% of new nurses leave employment within 2 years. 33% of those lead to profession. We already talked about all the other numbers. Stuff's working against us. That's why I said that the bottleneck lands with you. Because we can't offer hospitals, offer schools like a magic bullet. But we can arm you with tools that make you superhuman, hopefully, that cater to the mental health crisis of our over-anxious generations and meet them where they're at. So how do we produce more nurses faster with an equivalent or improved competency? That's what we got to do. We can't just spit out 1 million nurses and go, well, okay, we met the need. And then people start dying in the hospital like crazy already, and DNR rates go through the roof. And then 2030 comes and we're like, well, we made it up nurses, and then 2031 comes and 50% of them leave the profession and go, didn't know that's what it was going to be like. So Nightingale is doing something interesting. You guys know Nightingale College? They're a nursing school. They're all remote. They're a little bit, some people love it, some people hate it. It's interesting. I don't want the dog in the fight. But I will say this. So if you don't know what Nightingale College is, they do a fully remote nursing school. Their nursing students are in VR using AI, high-fidelity simulation, 22 hours a semester for 4 years. I was on a flight with 2 BSN nurses who had just graduated. You guys probably know the answer to this. They had been nurses for 4 years, so they were relatively new to the profession, but stuck it out. They're obviously competent. They're enjoying their work. They want to become NPs now. Cool. They went to a 4-year college, a state school, and I asked them, how many high-fidelity simulations did you do in 4 years? Every semester, 16 weeks. Now, typically they don't do them in the first year. It's all AMP and stuff like that in theory. But even still, how many high-fidelity sims do you think they did? 4, 2, God, those are dreadful numbers. 4 to 6. They did 12, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. They weren't team leads in all of those. Right, we talked about that before. At the bottleneck, you have a mannequin or 2 mannequins. You have staff that need to man those mannequins. You got to cycle people through. When I tell people who know nothing about nursing, guess what their guess is? Like just average Joe. And I'm like, how many? Because I lay it out, right? I'm like, a semester's 16 weeks. They do it for 4 years. How many high fidelity, like realistic simulations do you think a nursing student needs to do in order to get their license eventually? What do you think? Anyone want to guess when like the average Joe thinks that nursing students should be doing that makes sense to them? Take a wild guess. Over 100. They're all like that. It seems like them. I have time. They should probably doing, and they do math. Like, I don't know, like 25 a semester or 25 a year, probably, and then 100. And you're like, that would be great. Okay, so back to Nightingale. They have 7,000 learners distributed across the country, all doing AI and nursing simulation, and they're doing 22 hours of simulation per semester. Each student is getting assigned 8 high-fidelity simulations. Half of them, they get to do as many times as they want, and the students typically do them about 2 or 3 times, because they'll like get assigned them for like a week, and the students get to practice on them, wherever they are. And then the other half of them count, and they have to get a good score on those. And they're similar, but they're not the exact same thing. So the ones that count, they're kind of like ready for them, but it's a little bit different, so they don't know the answers. And the reason why Nightingale, if you don't know, is a little bit contentious in the world of nursing is because they don't teach, they don't focus on their NCLEX pass rates, their first-time pass rates. And I got to say, this whole NCLEX thing is really working against y'all as educators. Like colleges are not getting the resources that they need based on their first-time NCLEX pass rate. And we all know what nursing is really like in the real world. Is it Marcia? Hi, Marcia. My name is Devin. I'll be your nurse today. How are you doing? Good, good, good. I'm just here to do a quick assessment for you. Can you tell me a little bit what's wrong with you? Is it A, B, C, or D? That's not how it works. Select all. We're not teaching people to take a test. I don't care if they don't pass it on first try. I care if they're competent. They're not going to be taking tests anymore when they hit the real world. And so Nightingale's contentious because they don't worry about their first-time pass rate. They worry about their licensure rate, their higher rate. And a lot of people are frustrated by that, especially a lot of schools who feel like students are going to Nightingale, and so there's a competition there, right? And so they're like, no, NCLEX pass rates are important. They're doing something wrong. They're being flagged. Well, let's just pause for a second. What do you think Nightingale's NCLEX pass rate is, like successful pass rate within the first 3? All right, it's 100% within the first 3. They work with their students. What do you think their licensure rate is? It's 100%. That's insane. I've heard schools with an 80% first-time NCLEX pass rate and a 40% licensure rate, and they tout it. And they're getting resources. Well, but you know what? You all should have 100% placement rate. There's a shortage. Every hospital is hungry. Okay. They've got a lot of students in all the states. Brick and mortar are full. Not enough empty seats. They talk about that. Okay. We're going to get into a little bit of like the states and stuff like that. And we see how much time I have. Before I do that, I'm going to talk to a colleague. For some of you who have never used AI before, and I want you to understand what I mean when I say like high fidelity, the direction that things are going. Now, hopefully you've never seen this before. We're going to do a little quick audio check. I don't hear it. Good. Little trick, if you guys just click on your volumes, it'll, and then you don't have to play a song on YouTube to check your audio.
Well, look who's back. I was just reliving our last chat. It feels like just a few minutes ago we were talking about, a date I'm not supposed to tell you.
It's okay.
Nice to...
Don't worry about it, Maya. It's nice to talk to you as well. How you been doing?
Right back at you. Honestly, pretty good. Been thinking a lot about entree pairings with, never mind.
What? Are you hungry right now?
Hungry for knowledge, maybe. Or a good conversation.
That's hilarious. So Maya, check this out. You're actually being watched and listened to by like 70 professional nurses, and we're talking about things being high fidelity or realistic in medical simulation, and you sound real. Pretty cool, huh?
70 nurses? Wow, no pressure then. Knowing I might be helping them, that's pretty cool.
This is pretty cool.
Let me guess, high fidelity means replacing those rubbery mannequins they used to?
No, high fidelity just means realistic. Well, let's sign off for now. Can you say bye to all the nurses?
Absolutely. Tell those 70 nurses I said, stay curious. And wash your hands. Bye.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I meant by, like, if you're not a little bit concerned. Because, dude, are you kidding me? That was so realistic. Yeah. That terrifies me. I would not know that was a human being if they called me on the phone. Okay, so that's a pretty crazy tool. So how do we use that to make you superhuman? Because the goal is not to replace you. I don't want that nurse who hasn't been taught by a human, teaching them how to treat humans. But we do need to use technology, and it is going super fast. So we're going to get a little technical for a second. AI uses tokens. Does anyone know what a token is? It's okay if you don't. All right, so listen. Think of it as like rollover minutes and cell phone minutes. All right, so back when cell phones turned to mobile, it was like a thing. And then you had a limited number of minutes on your cell phone. And if you went over, you get a notification or there's a fee. And then AT&T was like, we're going to do rollover minutes. And we're like, yes. Do they roll over to next year? We're like, how do I accrue minutes? And then everyone went unlimited. The reason why it went in that cascading order is because it was a new technology that the large companies couldn't figure out how to scale as fast as it was being used. Just like a lot. And so it started with a pay per minute model. So they didn't lose their shorts and they could provide you with the infrastructure, but they needed to keep the lights on as though Verizon needed more money. And then when they made it cheap as dirt and it can become a utility, we all got unlimited minutes. That's what could happen way up. But we're not there yet, which means every time you talk to the AI, it costs minutes or a token. That charges the providing company in order to provide you with the service. That's why you have to pay for ChatGPT Plus. But why don't you have to pay for ChatGPT regular? Because OpenAI knows that they need adoption, so they are paying for you to have it for free. And they limit you. So if you go too crazy on the AI, it'll go, you had enough queries for today, you've run out of minutes. Log in tomorrow or next month, and they'll roll over, or you'll have more. Okay, so that's what tokens are. That means that when a company like VR Patients builds you guys a platform that can do asynchronous AI high fidelity simulation, it costs us minutes to provide you and your students access. And so we have to figure out how to do that at scale. Now, what you've heard just now was a company called Sesame. And if you all go to, if you just Google, I don't know the exact website, if you Google Sesame AI, it's free to do exactly what I just did. And you can just talk to it. One time I blew it up on my phone, and I went, hey, Maya, hey, can you talk to my friend really quick? And I handed it to a friend. I said, I'll be right back. We talked to my friend Maya, and they had conversation with an AI. I had no idea. So it's pretty fun. You all got to think about that in terms of how your college can pay for these new tools. I mean, even the mannequins are starting to become AI because everyone is recognizing that high fidelity is coming to you as a resource now in a way that's beyond a standardized patient. That's the most high fidelity. I guess the most high fidelity is doing the clinical rotation, but a standardized patient, a human who's good at acting and knows their story, how can they get better than that? This is not scalable. Neither are the mannequins. We can't do 1,000 learners at the same time, something like that. But what you can do is reserve those moments, those important moments with your standardized patient and your high fidelity mannequins for the sims that count. They still need to do that. And let them practice and iterate and fail opto with AI, and that's realistic. Okay, so I showed you Sesame to show you where the technology is going because Sesame is not scaled yet. And so we use 11 lens, which makes it pretty realistic. And it's less costly. Today, if you guys run a 20-minute head-to-toe nursing assessment in VR asynchronously with AI in US, 40 questions and answers back and forth for 20 minutes, that costs us not 35 cents. That's pretty good. But when you got Nightingale, you got 6,000 students, and they're running each one 8 times. Now, not all of those sims are 20 minutes. Some are short. Some are just a respiratory assessment. And students get good at it if you just spend 20 minutes in VR. So that gives you an idea when you think about when you engage with any company that has to do with AI. They all have to pay for tokens. And so you can probe them about how much access you're actually getting. Are you going to cap my minutes? Are you going to turn off the spout if we are high users? If we really love this and we go full integration or we're going to use it every day, are you going to shut the spout off? Are we going to get a warning before you throttle us so it doesn't impact our curriculum? Those are the type of questions you got to make sure that you're asking some of these companies when you're engaging with AI, okay? All right, so NCSDN, they will back 50% of clinical hours can be replaced by high-fidelity simulation, but they don't speak for all the states or the schools. And the question comes, well, what's the definition of a high-fidelity simulation? And if you look up your definition of high-fidelity simulation, it has language like realistic. They use sometimes the word standardized patient, but it's like feels real, causes anxiety in the person, like it feels like a real human interaction. And today they're starting to mention AI in that definition of what high fidelity is. Because what you just heard in that Sesame voice, pass. It doesn't get well real in that in terms of digital. Asynchronous, like Maya doesn't sleep. Your student can wake up at 11 o'clock at night and go, I have a test tomorrow, just on the practice. I want that student to practice. If they're motivated and anxious, go to town. Put on the headset, you're not on stage. When you have to do a high fidelity sim around mannequin and everyone's watching, I don't feel like I can fail. I've done it before. And I don't want to fail, but that's where I should. It's called school. So let them practice at home. This is an example of AI deep research. I didn't want to take the time to go up to every single state's 50 states websites to find out what is listed as how much percentage of simulation that they allowed to be replaced, or what percentage of clinical hours that they allowed to be replaced officially by simulation, high fidelity simulation. So AI did it for me, and I checked the references to make sure that those were all real sites, and they were all .gov sites, which is pretty cool. A lot of them are not defined. A lot of them have a little squiggly, which means like plus or minus. They don't really draw a hard line. Now, the definition of high fidelity simulation is kind of where you guys come in, because you can advocate at your state that you're the accredited school. You're the one who licenses the nurses or who produces the accredited nurses. So you are saying that your high fidelity simulation, it does count because it's super real and it's producing good nurses. For it to count. But there's a lot of states on here that are 25%. That means 75% of what you do with your students cannot be simulation. And that doesn't help you produce more with less. It doesn't empower you with more tools to create better nurses who are digital first and anxious amongst a crisis and a shortage. Does it count for clinical hour replacement? It does. VR does. VR can. There is a little bit of adaptation that needs to happen with your guys' accreditors. But effectively, the school needs to stand by and go, we have tested that sim, we ran it as professionals, we see it as equivalent to what we would do otherwise for training on that patient or that sim, we count. Now, one question that had not been answered fully yet, which is, does 10 minutes or 20 minutes of high-fidelity VR AI sim count for more than 10 minutes of clinical hour, or clinical time? And why would that be the case? Because you don't have to wait for labs. You don't have to wait for the patient to respond. There's way less waiting time. Everything is do it. There's simulation time that happens in the system. So I might do a 10-minute simulation and make 100 clinical decisions that were effective and real, and I got 100 clinical responses. But I did that faster than are talking to a human being. And that doesn't mean it wasn't valuable or useful for my education. It means that 10 minutes might actually count for 20 minutes. That would be really good for you guys if someone wanted to do a study on that and measure that and find out what the actual 1-for-1 is. Is it 1-for-1 or is it 1-for-2? Okay, so we've talked a lot about this, but it's important to show a visual. How are we doing on time, Mr. President? Good?
I didn't know you were talking.
46, we're okay?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Great. This is an important visual to remember because AI is scary, it's new, it's fast, it's like a tidal wave coming down the pipe. However, we have been doing simulation the same way for a really long time. And change is hard, but I want to remind you, I am not advocating that we toss that mannequin out to pasture. Not that all of them are being used anyways. Don't lie. You know they're just sitting there collecting data, especially if they're filled with fluids or if they have any kind of, case logic or scenario logic in them that needs to be coded, or they knew their license updates, or you're in turnover, you don't have your stim tech, and now that birthing mannequin is a CPR mannequin. So this is a clinical educator at the University of Cincinnati, and I recorded her and I said, I just want you to do a normal setup of sim with a mannequin. I had the mannequin in a wheelchair, and I said, I'm not going to tell you how or not to. I just need you to set it up for some students, plug it in, make sure it's all good. Took her 30 minutes to get it all ready to go. She wasn't isoprosed her, right? She wasn't right. But she could sit on power she wanted. And the thing was heavy. The thing was like 100 pounds. I didn't give her any help. Poor thing, Maggie. She did it twice. And the funny thing is that it wasn't much faster the second time, right? It's just, things are heavy. Things take time to move. The sheets get caught on the rubber between the toes. And you're like, okay. And then the Wi-Fi dips out, and you got to plug in the little Ethernet cable into the butt. Yeah. And now capitalization. So I asked her to do the same thing with a VR sim. In this instance, she was using VR patients, and we just let her build one of the moment. And she took about 10 minutes to build the sim, and then she ran that sim 3 times by herself. And the bed was empty because there was a digital patient there, and because it was in mixed reality, she was able to reach on the wall and touch the oxygen tubing or pull up a chair and sit down, have an empathetic conversation, knee to knee with the patient. That's pretty cool. That's not to say that, again, the mannequin is not useful. It's to say that she's getting a lot more practice. Well, that's what we want for her as the student. Oh, and the other piece is, again, she built the sim. That empowers you. You can't be replaced by the AI. You're the one manipulating it, controlling it, if you're the one putting the wisdom or the intellectual property of your institution into that secure SIM, so that way that wisdom that you have stays with the organization. So when Sally leaves, Susie or John get to continue to use Sally's SIMs. And those SIMs can teach John how to do the SIM. And then they can see on the back end how that SIM was done. And they can duplicate it and do another one. That is a digital asset for your school that lives on. But because it requires you to manipulate, to change, to nudge, to push, to direct, to put standards into, that you already have all this information. You have scenarios. I already had 2 of you raise your hand. I can tell you like 4 scenarios right now. So let's immortalize those. And when your students run them, you want this thing to track. If you guys get audited, you want to be able to just download a CSV file and send it to your auditor and go, there you go. 400 students, each showing they did like 4 hours of simulation per semester. That equated to, if it's a 10-minute sim, how many sims? Versus 4 sims in 4 years. How about 150 sims? Sweet, per semester. And it's fun. I'll tell you, the only time that I ever had fun doing simulation as a student was when my instructor grabbed a torso, flipped it upside down, told me to lay on my back and intimate the patient upside down and backwards. Right? Because it was like ridiculous. He was like, to roll over, here we go. And like, he was between his legs, the head was between his legs. And so it was, anatomical for me. And fun and interesting and different. Other than that, it was always stressful. It was always anxious. Now, I've been a clinical person. It's not always anxious and stressful. At some point, you gain confidence because you get competency. And so we want people to start to gain competence and feel competent in school, too, and soon. And that's, I would argue, that's why the ZNR rates and the dropout rates, the quitting rates are so high. They're not confident that they're competent. There's no way I could say that 5 times fast. But what if they could be? We have a school, Portland Community College. Those students, they're paramedics in this instance. They're getting hired by agencies. And they measure how long it takes for them to become solo team lead providers. That means they usually spend 9 weeks with a proctor at the agency. And during that time, they're not getting the full pay. And the proctor is tied to them. They're an expert, like probably the best medic at that hospital or at that agency. And so they make sure they don't kill you money. Well, the students that did 2 years, it's a 2-year program, they did 2 years of this virtual simulation, when they get hired by the agency, they're becoming solo competent providers 2 to 3 weeks faster. So now it's 6 weeks. They don't need the proctor. Because at week 5, the proctor was like, I think it got it. That proctor, that expert, gets back in the field faster. That provides that community a first-time, an emergency responder, 3 weeks faster. Providing that person full-time pay 3 weeks faster. These are good problems to solve. We could do the same thing in nursing. You guys already know this. So much of your time when you're actually spending with the patient is communication and treatment. The rest is like logistics and running around and going to Pyxis and checking orders and talking to the doctor and going down X-ray. Like, oh my gosh. We used to walk 7 miles in the nursing in the emergency department. I never went more than 40 feet. Okay, so a little bit of cost. I don't work for Meta. I don't sell Meta's products. There are issues with all of them, whether you HTC or Barbco or Meta or Pico or whatever. I'm here to tell you that do something that doesn't make you raise tuition on your students. Do something that you can replace when it inevitably gets dropped and broken. Do something that has support. Meta has not always been that destination. They made huge change in January. And so right now, for educational institutions only, guys, especially with tariffs, if anyone, any school here already has any kind of funds for a virtual simulation and you have not selected your software, do not wait to get the hardware. It might double in price. Okay? And it's new. That headset right there is like less than 6 months old. So you know you're buying something that's going to last probably 3-4 years, because Quest 2 lasted for 4 years. and still works today. They just don't support it anymore like they're working on. It's like Apple, right? Like you can't pull us from customer support. But the Quest 2 still works. So if you guys have any kind of allocation funds for virtual simulation, buy Quest headsets because they're cheap. They come with support, 3-year warranties, and right now, they come with DLA, device lifetime access for educational institutions only. That means if you have a .edu and you buy it, it's another $100. So, for example, the enterprise version of the Quest headset is $399. It's $100 more than the one you can buy at Target because it comes with 3-year warranty and support in enterprise. Okay, the same headset, but it comes with the MDM, right? That digital place where you can track all the headsets and where you load the software, so your students aren't necessarily playing Beat Saber, they're playing the professional stuff that you want them to play. They're not on Facebook, they don't need accounts. It's an enterprise headset. They put it on when it works, and the institution owns the security of that device. Okay, MDMs are expensive. They're normally like $20 a month per headset, per month. So that could get expensive. Okay, so that means for $399, you get the headset and 2 years of the MDM and 3 years of warranty. But for another $100, they're offering EVU only device lifetime access to the MDM. No more paying, for the life, but as long as the headset is working and they support it, you get access to the MDM. That is $176 per year per headset, wiped off of your budget requirements. I don't know how long that's going to last, and I don't know what tariffs are going to do to this technology. It's all coming out of China. So make your own decisions, but make sure you understand what this is. If you go to Target to buy the headsets, Meta's going to probably slap you on the wrist. Be like, hey, you're trying to buy consumer headsets and use them in workforce. We need you to buy the enterprise ones. I don't know what to do about that. But it's only $100 more, and it's your school's money, it's not yours. So, just make sure that you don't find yourself in a position in 2 years where all this is twice as much and are not upgrading that EDU thing anymore, and you're behind the 8 ball. Pay whatever software you want. And there's free stuff too. Okay. VR improves a bunch of stuff. It improves outcomes. There's so many metrics out there of all the things that it does. But we're going to stick with AI. That's a trailer of what it looks like in VR. I'm going to put this up. You guys are in my community now, so not going to charge you anything. Reach out to me anytime. I'll answer any question. I'll help you out any way I can. Anything you need. It doesn't have to be related with VR patients. I'm here to service the nursing industry, this clinical simulation industry. So reach out. Okay, we have 3 minutes. Everyone got it? Boop. Watch this. Who had the respiratory sim idea? Yes, what was that sim idea? Okay. How old is this patient? So we're going to say you're a 24-year-old female with... I need someone to think about how they want to grade this, like a Crichton maybe or something like that. 24-year-old female. So what signs and symptoms might they have? Like chest pain, difficulty breathing, and it hurts. How long has this been going on? Whoa! Okay. You've been feeling like this for 6 months. Have they been seen before? Yes. Ooh. Treated? Yes. Unsuccessfully, apparently. Okay, unsuccessfully treated. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm treating this like it's a standardized patient. I'm giving it instructions. You want help. What's this patient's name? Kate. Kate Windberg. I don't know. Okay, anyone to decide on how they want it to be graded? Cool, Craig model, great. Use the gosh. Accenture. What's that?
1 minute.
I got 1 minute. Well, how fast can we go? I'm just gonna see this. Copy. How fast can you paste? 1,000, 2, 1,000, run. This deploys to VR or WebGL. So what's happening here is it's sending to the cloud a digital patient based on what we just decided. Oh, I should probably give them a little chest pain really quick. And behavior or clutching chest. No, try. And so it'll deploy on the laptop or the headset, doesn't matter. Which means that on the laptop it's flat, it just flattens the 3D avatar, and on the headset you can like walk around them. Oh, of course, internet. So, I appreciate everybody's time and energy and wisdom here, collaborating with me, communicating with me on this. Change is not easy. We're talking about moving big mountains here and doing things a completely different way and integrating differently. So, if you want to talk about how to do it, reach out. We'll help you. We'll figure it out. I know you all have to go to lunch or go to your next thing, so anyone who wants to stick around for a minute to see how this works, I will stay right here. Otherwise, I definitely want to release you and let you go to your next thing. How's it going, Mr. President?
Our next speaker will start here right at 11. So take a couple minute break. I can hear.
Oh, you have another speaker at 11? I'm sorry. I got to get out of here.
Fine.
I'll hang out in the lobby if you all want to try, okay?
Hey, if you still talk to them, you're more than welcome.